speaker from the Paperless Agent. Grew up in the real estate industry and now has over 2 decades of luxury sales experience. Early in his career, he quickly became an award-winning leader in sales and development. In his journey to eliminate the frustration with how complicated the transaction process is, he literally cracked the code on running his real estate business entirely paperless, using a mobile device. Be careful, I may have just bought a phone a second ago, I thought it was on Instagram. And has been featured as a business case study by Apple. At the Paperless Agent, he now works to bridge the understanding of technology and sales in real estate through public speaking and online training. Please welcome to the stage our keynote speaker, Garry Wise.
So, please, by the way, connect with me on Instagram. But as we get started, I did want to say it is my distinct pleasure and honor to be here with you for my 3rd year in a row. And yeah, so thank you. Thank you for having me back again, Jeff. It's an honor, as always. And hopefully I won't screw this up enough and I'll get invited back next year because I enjoy Palm Springs so much. But yeah, so, you know, a lot of people, you're sitting here and go, okay, number one, who are you, Garry? And why are you here? Because I think last night at the white party, somebody pulled me aside and they go, oh my gosh, you and your girlfriend, you guys are the cutest straight couple here. And I said, we're the only straight couple here. But I started selling real estate 20 years ago. I graduated from Texas A&M and moved to Colorado. Whoop! Did I just hear something? And in Colorado, it had been my lifelong dream to be a ski patroller. Because I have always been very passionate about 2 things. Number 1, skiing, and number 2 is helping other people. That's always been a passion of mine. And in ski patrol, I would be a medic on backcountry ski mountains helping people. And I'll never forget the day. It was April 16th, and 20 years ago, in fact. And I got a phone call at 5:30 in the morning. And you know when you're getting phone calls at 5:30 in the morning, nothing good is going on. And it was my mom, and she said my dad had just died. In the middle of the night, complete surprise to everybody. And so I got on the plane, and I went home, and I never went back to Colorado. Because what I realized about my mom and the love that she had for my dad is that if somebody were not there from the family to take care of her, she would die of a broken heart within months. And so I said, you know what? I told my brothers, I said, you guys got families, I'm single, I'll take one for the team and I'll stay here in Austin. Well, the good news is my dad had a real estate company and he had a great database. And so what I did is I naturally, as anybody who's lost in their world, I got my real estate license and I went to business. And so I started, you guys are laughing because you're like, yeah, I was there. I was broke, had nothing going on, living in a van down by the river and got my real estate license. And so what I decided to do is to get into the business and start selling real estate. But what I found out very, very quickly is that there were such significant inefficiencies in real estate transactions 20 years ago because it was all paper. And I was like, man, this is crazy, and I need to figure this out because I'm not going to work this hard to make this little money. And so what I did is I started really researching technology and working to understand how I can increase efficiencies, reduce my sales cycle, and generate more referrals so that I could sell more real estate and make more money. And then we, at our real estate brokerage, we won Inman's Most Innovative Real Estate Brokerage Award and then got featured by Apple as a business case study. And there's this ad out there from Apple with us in it about how do you run real estate completely mobile using their devices. And the reason I tell that story is that answers the question, why am I here? Because at that moment, we started getting calls from real estate brokers and agents all over the country saying, oh my gosh, Can we just come to Austin and learn what you're doing? Can we buy a franchise from you, from Good Life? And can we do all these things because we want what you're doing? And what happened is we said, no, you know what? And in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to create an education, technology, and training company to train realtors across North America on these best practices. And that's why I'm here, because my passion is helping other people and bridging that gap of technology and understanding and sales into our businesses so that you can go make more money as well. And so let's talk about how do we do that through sales mastery, because this is one thing that I've found in real estate is that realtors don't like being called salespeople. Would you agree? And I think it's because there are so many different reasons where we look at salespeople and we're like, I'm not that. And then we're like, okay, well, so if I'm not a salesperson, what am I? And then how do I really understand what do my customers want and how do I give that to them? Because I think in real estate, what we think our customers want is they want us to be available to them 24/7. And we buy into that shit. We're like, oh, my phone's ringing, I'm sorry, gotta go. It's like, oh, okay, you know, we're sitting here having a nice lunch, but you gotta go take care of a client, I get it. Oh, sorry, honey, I understand, you know, we're in bed and we're cuddling and you want a little more from me, but I got a call from a client. And so what this leads to is a world of chaos for us, like this. And my whole focus is like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. And I know so many amazing realtors who are still stuck in this and need to get out of this, but it's because they think that this is what they want, what our customers want, and that's not it. And so what we need to realize is, what do our customers really want? And only by starting to understand this can we understand how to provide it to them and then become master salespeople to provide it to them. So let's discuss this, because I've been studying psychology for 20 years. I've been studying sales for 20 years because I want to understand what our customers want. And fundamentally, there are two things that our customers want. And it's not service, and it's not honesty, and it's not all this rhetoric and bullshit that we're taught. What it is our customers want to be loved. Our customers want to be loved. And by the way, love is holding somebody else's concerns, needs, wants, and desires as your own. That's what love is. So they want to be loved. And the biggest fundamental thing that they need is they want a human connection with another person. And how do we know this to be true? Because everybody in this room wants exactly the same thing. That's what makes us human, is that we want that love, we want that human connection, we want that interpersonal relationship with one another. So if we know that that's what our customers want, well, I think it begs the question also is what do you really want? Because until we define that ourselves, giving and giving and giving to somebody else, all that does is kill us. I learned that the hard way. After my dad died, I asked the fire department, who was all volunteer at the time, who responded to my house, I said, what can I do for you guys? Because you gave so much to my family by responding and taking care of my mother until I was able to get here. And they said, we need volunteers. I said, great. So I became a firefighter and medic for them for 10 years to give back. But what I realized in doing that is I was starting my real estate brokerage or company at the same time and doing this, and I was giving, but never really understanding what I wanted. And what I wanted was I wanted freedom. I wanted peace. I wanted money. I wanted to make more money, which I think we all want. I wanted to be able to jump on a plane and go take a vacation at any time I wanted, which, by the way, I recently did. I woke up one Friday morning 3 weeks ago, and I looked online and I said, gosh, you know what? I want to go to Italy. And I booked a flight, and I was on that flight within 2.5 hours going to Italy. And it's simply because I know what I want, and I know what my customers want, and I'm able to provide it to them from wherever I am in the world. So with that, let's talk about sales and how we provide excellent customer service to our clients. You like this? Oh my God, I saw this online and I'm like, for this crowd, this is awesome. But let's talk, like, what is sales? I think we need to understand what sales is before we can actually start selling. And I think this is a big fundamental problem or issue in real estate with realtors, is that we think that sales is this guy, right? And we don't want to be that. I want you to be my lifetime client. But here's the thing, is that we are in sales. It's just we have a wrong understanding, a wrong interpretation, a wrong definition of what sales is. And here's what sales is. Sales is understanding the needs, the wants, the concerns, the fears of somebody else. Understanding what that is, and then looking in our arsenal of what we have to offer and finding out, is what I have to offer going to take care of those needs, those wants, those concerns, and those desires? And if so, we offer it to them. And if not, we find somebody who can offer them what they need to take care of them. And that is what sales is. This is not sales. And the way that we begin understanding sales is understanding that everything starts with mood. Everything starts with mood. So I ask you, when you see this photo, just shout it out. What kind of mood does this photo present? Sad. Yeah. What about this? Despair. That is a powerful word. If you are in a mood of sadness, despair, if you just walk into a room with a shitty mood, how well are you going to communicate and connect with that other human being who is your client? Not well. Instead, what if you show up with a mood like this? By the way, that was my trip to Italy 3 weeks ago. My girlfriend's going to kill me for this. I know it. What about these? What kind of mood does this put into your mind? Joy, happiness, freedom, passion. And so if we can start every conversation, every engagement, every prospecting call, every listing appointment with these kinds of moods, what it does is you bring that mood into the energy space of somebody else, and you begin to change their mood. And that is power. But we have to start with mood. By the way, a little tip, the fastest and easiest way to change your mood is through using what tool? Music. Who said that? Absolutely. Did you know, you can shift, wait, so I heard something over here.
You said drugs and alcohol.
Drugs and alcohol, absolutely. All right. Take one down and pass it around. But music, if you could jam your favorite powerful energy song on your way to your listing appointment, just think about the mood that that's going to create. That will allow you to really understand the concerns and address the concerns of your customer. To understand their fears, their wants, their needs, and their desires. Because only through doing that can we sell and sell well. And so I love this quote from Yoda, is that fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. But did you know that before fear, do you know why people are afraid? Ignorance. Absolutely. Because if we're ignorant about what's around the corner, we may be fearful about that, especially if we're in a dark alley somewhere. But if we remove that fear by actually sharing and connecting with somebody else, if it just remove that ignorance by education and talking and speaking and learning, we remove that fear. And then also, there is a huge lost art of listening. This is where sales begins. And there's a practice that will help you really understand listening. And I would highly encourage, if you're here with a friend, a partner, a business partner, whatever, is do this practice. Number one is sit knee to knee with them and look them in the eye and put your hands on your thighs. Not their thighs, your thighs. And listen to them without the intention of responding. That is what listening is, because right now you have an inner voice in your head, don't you? Anybody have more than one? Okay, whoever had the drugs and alcohol thing, let's go ahead and take care of these folks with that. But we all have this inner voice in our head. And if we can turn off that inner voice and just listen to what somebody is saying without the intention of responding, that is the skill of listening. And by the way, when you do this, you will connect with somebody in such a deeper way. There is so much more love and respect for somebody else through the art and the skill of listening to them. So often at a listing appointment, we ask questions to fill the gaps so we can kind of figure out what we're going to say next to get them sold. But that's not what mastery is in sales. Master salespeople are exceptional in listening without the intent of responding. And by the way, part of listening is not looking at them and then looking over their shoulder to see who just walked in the room. There's a gentleman who used to coach me. His name is Brendan Burchard. Brendan Burchard, the year he was coaching me, he made $60 million that year. And I was delighted to contribute to that. But he made $60 million that year, and I was at a private event in Turks and Caicos with him. There were 20 of us there. Again, this man made $60 million that year. And he asked me one day, he said, "Hey, Gary, I saw you out on the beach meditating. How you doing?" And he sat there and he listened to me. And he stared at me. And there was chaos going around because they were getting ready for our luncheon. Waiters, waitresses, there were his staff running around. And he sat there and listened to me as if I were the only person in the world. And guess what? I will never forget that. Obviously, because I still speak about it. That is the power of listening. And only through listening can we actually understand what the needs, the wants, and the concerns, and the desires of another human being are. By the way, the most powerful way to understand these things is to ask questions. And I would challenge that in any sales conversation that you may have with a customer, which, by the way, every conversation you have with a customer is a sales conversation. By the way, every conversation that you have with your partner or your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend is a sales conversation. Because you're trying to understand what is it that they need and how am I able to fulfill on that need? And when you do that, they fulfill on yours. But we have to understand what it is that they want. And the only way we can do that is through listening. And then what we do is we deliver to them what they want, need, and desire. And by the way, so many new studies coming out from both Realtor.com and from the National Association of Realtors are talking about what customers want in this new day and age. I've been selling real estate for 20 years. I started when I was 4. And at the time, you guys remember the MLS books? You remember the keys and then the combos and all that crap? You know, our value proposition at that time, what they wanted from us was information. They wanted data. They wanted listing data. We were the gatekeepers of this information. Now they can get this shit anywhere. That's a separate conversation of who we're giving our data to, but what they want now is your specific local market knowledge. Every study is coming out that what your buyers and sellers want is they want your expert market knowledge within their local geographic area. And there's so many ways that we can deliver this to them. But again, first we have to know what they want. And then we have to explain what? With them. Who just said that? You said that. You always sit up front, don't you?
365 radio station.
Yep. What's in it for me? We have to understand. Every single thing that we communicate to our customers has to be turned around and explained to them what's in it for them. There's so many different awesome things that we can share with people, but unless we actually explain to them what's in it for them, they just look at us like, why the hell did you tell me that? That doesn't help me. And then we have to discuss how do we deliver this to them in a fashion that takes care of their needs. We're so used to just delivering things the way that we want to deliver them that it's not taking care of other people and their needs. But a master salesperson is always considering the other individual. And how do we deliver this to them in a meaningful way where they can digest and understand with them? And so let's talk about some delivery mechanisms that we're using these days and some tactics. So we just talked a lot of theory. Let's now talk about tactics of how to deliver these things. Oh, by the way, statistically, if in our sales conversations we are speaking more than 10% of the conversation, we're failing. The only time we should really speak is to ask a question, ask a deeper diving question like this. Gosh, that seems really important to you. Do you mind telling me more about that? Do you mind telling me more about that? Very, very powerful words. It also gives you time to figure out what the hell you're going to say next, right? But very powerful in asking them to go deeper. Let's get deeper than surface level. And then understand how do we deliver that to them. But the whole 90-10 rule is they need to be speaking 90% of the time. And that's when you start getting into sales mastery of asking the right questions, driving the conversation to where you need it to go, and documenting exactly what they're saying. Number one thing that people want from you is to be heard. And the best and most powerful way that we show them that they were heard is to listen, focus, take notes, and then show them. I used to have this practice in real estate, is after my initial phone consultation, I would mail them a letter that said, "This is what I heard you say." And I bullet pointed out all of their concerns that I documented. Now I do that in Evernote, and on my listing appointments, I show them on my iPad as I'm sitting next to them. And I say, gosh, you know what? This is what I heard you say. Can we verify and make sure that this is exactly what you meant for me to hear? And now we're able to deliver these communications of what they want in so many different powerful ways. But I'll tell you this, real estate's gotten really complicated with technology, right? I thought technology was supposed to make this business easier. It's actually made it more difficult. Because the whole client experience has gotten even more complicated. Our clients want to be over-communicated with. In fact, I was speaking at the Realtor.com Results Summit in Las Vegas last month. And I was talking to some of the people who had run some studies. And what they found is that sellers get frustrated with us as agents when we don't communicate everything that's going on. And here's a perfect example. My very first transaction in real estate 20 years ago was a $500,000 deal. I was working in a luxury real estate office, and it was all women, except for me. And I was there because, my dad had been in real estate. And so I walked into the office, the very first sales meeting, and I'll never forget this woman. Her name's Dee Schultz, #1 producing agent in Austin at that time. And Dee looks at me and she goes, "Okay, Gary, welcome. You are the only virgin in this room." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, everybody in this room has sold a house over $500,000 because this is a luxury real estate office. By the way, that $500,000 house today would be $2 million in Austin." And I said, "Okay, Dee, so I have to sell a $500,000 house before all you ladies stop calling me a virgin?" She said, "Yep." I said, "Okay." So I made it my mission. And in fact, the very first house I sold right at $500,000. That's like me putting my intention out into the universe, and the universe is like, "Okay, we can't have Gary tormented by these women any longer. Let's give him a $500,000 sale." But I'll never forget, I'm sitting at the closing table, and I'm sitting there thinking, I am hot stuff. 23 years old, just sold my first house, $500,000. $15,000 commission. I am hot stuff. And my client looked at that same settlement statement and looked me in the eye from across the table and said, "That's the easiest $15,000 you'll ever make." And I looked at him, and that inner voice in my head said so many curse words. And some of them were like, "You son of a bitch. You have no idea what I just did for you during that transaction. You have no clue." Oh. They had no idea what I was doing. They had no idea the level of service. They had no idea the late nights. They had no idea all the communications. They had no idea about the collaboration with all of these vendors. They had no idea. So I made it my mission at that point to start sharing and oversharing, and that's what Realtor.com's reports showed, is that they want us to over-communicate with them. They want all the information. They want to know what we know. They can find out everything else online, but they need to know what's going on every single step of that transaction. And there's so much power in that, of communicating that, and delivering that service, and understanding from them what is it that they want from us so that we can deliver. By the way, one of the best, most powerful things you can do is ask a customer, "Hey, you know what? If during this experience together, I produce a 5-star experience for you, what does that look like to you?" And then follow up with this. So if I'm able to do all of those to that level, then would you offer me a 5-star review on Google or Facebook or wherever you're collecting these reviews? There's so much power in that psychology, because what you just did is you transferred a lot of the responsibility of producing a 5-star review to them. Oh gosh, and by the way, if at any time during us working together, if you feel like, "Gary, you know what, you're missing the boat here, would you promise to call me and tell me?" And they'll say yes every time, and now they're responsible for you producing a 5-star experience. But that is about all of this and the communication afterwards. And by the way, there's so many powerful ways that we can communicate always with them through using a lot of different technologies. By the way, did you know, according to the National Association of Realtors, last year, over 95% of buyers started their home search online, and last year, over 51% of them found the house that they ultimately bought online without your help? So our value proposition has changed. And then also, according to the New York Times, on average, people on Facebook are spending over 50 minutes every day on Facebook. And I'm like, who are these people? Only 50 minutes? I don't know. But here's the thing, is that if you know where your customers are, then that's where we need to be. By the way, another statistic that you may want to write down is that right now, Instagram is the fastest growing social media platform in the world. And right now, Instagram is getting 56% more engagement than people on Facebook. By the way, that's a great script that you can use in a listing appointment. This is a slide from my digital listing presentation. I just got a $2.5 million listing because of my knowledge of that statistic on Instagram. And then I showed him how I was going to take care of his concerns, which, by the way, I just made it his concern. Because if he knows that these are the places where the buyers are, well, I need somebody who's going to be able to expose my home on these places. But by using those statistics, I just secured this listing because now he knows I know what I'm talking about. Check this out. If we are spending time on LinkedIn, Pinterest, or Twitter with real estate, but we're not on Instagram and Facebook, we are wasting our time. Also, advertising on Instagram, I'm going to show you in a minute, is easy and cheap and powerful. Because we're able to get target market and audience on these places to deliver the message that we know that they want so that they will then engage with us. So this is marketing leading to sales. But we only get here because we know what they want and we know where they are because we're asking them the right questions. So let's talk about some delivery methods and how you can start doing this in your own business. Number one, who here is advertising on Facebook? Okay. People always say, Gary, how much do you spend advertising on Facebook? This past month alone, I spent $45,000. But it's not to generate real estate clients. What I'm doing is I'm using Facebook and Instagram and a lot of money to advertise there to see what works so then we can teach you what is working. Probably 40,000 of that 45,000 was totally wasted. It was just testing. But if we can start advertising there and then driving the traffic back to our website, that's where engagement starts. And people always ask me, well, yeah, but Gary, okay, all right. You're spending a lot of money there. What's your conversion off Facebook? I'm like, you're asking the wrong question, man. Facebook is about branding. Facebook is about driving traffic back to the website. And by the way, lead generation and conversion has gotten so complicated with all of these different areas and avenues of us advertising and marketing that you can't realistically track that client back to the original source and say, that's what made it happen. You can't do that any longer. We just have to add to the marketing that we're doing so that we know we're in front of them where they are at all times. So what do we offer through Facebook ads? How about market statistics within a specific region or within your city? If you start doing this, posting it on your blog site, posting ads, and I'll show you where, posting ads on Facebook and Instagram to drive traffic back here, all of a sudden, you are the master. And here's the ad that drove them back. So we're putting this information out there that we know that they want. How do we know this? Because Realtor.com did all the hard work for us and asked. So now that we know what they want, we deliver it to them where they want it. And this is what starts that branding and conversation. But there are so many different things that you have specific knowledge about that your customers want that you need to start shooting video, having a video log, driving traffic to it from Facebook and Instagram, And that is where the power really starts those conversations. Because there are two reasons that a client is going to hire you: character and competence. Character is who you are to them. How do they know you? And in fact, 20 years ago, I would get hired on character alone because I was completely incompetent. You know, it's like the comedian this morning. She's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. Oh, somebody trained me. I don't know. I have a heartbeat and a driver's license. I got a license. I got a real estate license. But when you start doing this, you immediately start sharing with them. You start showing them that you are competent. A good friend of mine, Jason Edwards, once told me, he said, Gary, you know, a master salesperson never tells somebody anything that they can show them. And the way we show them is by posting these ads with knowledge of what we do, of what we know, and then how we share it. You remember yesterday, Seth Price was talking about this with his wife, right? She has videos on a website. It's stagnant now, like she's not updating them, but she is an expert, and she is now getting 45 leads a month because of the knowledge that she's sharing. And the way that you can do this so powerfully right now is communicating with your database. How many responses do you get to a newsletter that you send out to your database? How many responses do you actually get from an e-newsletter that you send to your database? I'm not saying don't do these things. I'm saying add to them. Because people, we're no longer responding to the bombardment of email and mail any longer. But imagine if you could take your entire database from your CRM, upload it into Facebook, and create a specific audience of your database, and then target market them with your ads, showing them your knowledge. Man, all of a sudden, you're selling and you don't even know it. So Chris, my business partner at Paperless Agent, does all of our marketing for our real estate brokerage as well. And I had no idea that he had done this. But he posted this ad with that video of this market stats. And I had a client email me the next day a screenshot of the ad on his Facebook feed. And he goes, dude, you're everywhere. And I'm like, no, I didn't even know that Chris had done this. But this is an easy way to advertise and engage with your client. And Instagram, man, did you know that within Facebook's Ads Manager, there's a button where you can click to advertise on Instagram as well? That's how hard that is. So you can start advertising on Instagram and Facebook to the exact same target audience. It could be demographic, it could be price range, it could be income. Facebook knows how much you make. Facebook knows where you spend your time. How do they know that? Because you allow them to know every time you're looking on Facebook, they know where you are. Did you know you can advertise to people who are in a certain zip code right now? They don't have to live there, but if they're in that zip code, you can advertise to them. And Facebook knows who's there because of the geolocation on your phone. Same with Instagram. It's incredible the advertising that we can use with open houses, our listings, our blogs. And I have coaching clients say, well, Gary, why are you sharing with your database all of your listings on ads? Why are you advertising to them that you have listings? They're not going to buy those houses. I said, no, they won't. But I need them to know that I'm actively marketing and selling houses so that when they're ready to make that decision, they're like, oh man, there is only one person to go to, and that's Gary, because look at all these advertising that he's doing. If he's doing that for that house, imagine what he's going to do for ours. And then within our marketing proposal, man, there's so many sales opportunities within our listing appointment and our listing presentation. The one tip I would give you here is every time you go to a new slide, ask a question. Psychologically, if we can ask the question and have the client come up with the answer that we want them to have, they're going to trust that answer. But if I sit here and tell them the answer, they're not going to trust it. Remember, a master salesperson never tells somebody anything that they can show them. And if I show them and have them make their own interpretation with that voice or voices in their head, then they trust it. And this document, oh my gosh, gets me the most business. It is an 8-week detailed marketing plan. I send this before my listing appointment, and it is detailed and bullet pointed of every single thing that we're going to do on their behalf for the next 8 weeks. Oh, by the way, a good practice might be to start asking your clients, why did you hire me anyway? I get more listings from clients because of the 8-week marketing plan that I give them than anything else. And if you don't have one, it's easy to create. And if you have no idea how to create one, come to my booth and talk to me. So there's a lot of information in there about Facebook, Instagram, sales scripts and dialogues, understanding psychology, listing presentations, buyer appointments, all of this. If you need help, you can come talk to me. I have a booth out there, and in addition, I talked to Jeff about this. For this conference, I have a coaching club, and I am going to offer everybody in this conference Facebook Marketing for Real Estate class that we normally charge $597 for. I'm going to give you my listing presentation templates and the scripts, and we're also going to give you our property marketing plan template if you join our coaching club for a whopping $67 a month. I often get asked, Gary, why is your coaching program so cheap? If you remember back in the beginning, I'm passionate about helping people. I would rather help 10,000 people for $67 than 1,000 for $1,000 a month. And if you're interested in talking about this and seeing how we can help, just come see me in the booth. Because ultimately, I want to give you what you want so that you can then turn around and give to your customers what they want. Because in the end, everything that we're doing every day, everything that we're doing in this room, that amazing white party last night, everything that we're doing is all about love. It's about giving, it's about receiving, it's about understanding. This is all about love. So love your people. And ultimately, get your freedom back because you deserve it. I'm Garry Wise, and thank you so much for having me here.
Garry Wise, give it up for Garry Wise. He's amazing. He totally gets it. We all want to be loved by Garry Wise. I've got your 8-week plan. Room 3111. He's straight though, right? But so is Pasta. Till you add heat. 3111. All right? I'll text you on Instagram.